Okay, the time is, the time is 7:03, and I call this special meeting of the Madison School Board to order. Let the record show that this meeting has been duly called and hosted. All members are present with the exception of Mr. Anderson, who is out of the state with his work. Start off with our invocation, Mr. Knight.
Let's bow. Father, we just thank you once again, Father, for allowing us to be here. Father, as a community, Father, as we make decisions, and Father, we just pray that we make them to honor you. Father, thank you for all the people of this community. Father, the residents, the students, the teachers, the staff, all of us, Father. Father, we thank you for hearing us, and we just thank you for blessing us where you have. Let us make good choices and make good decisions, Father, that benefit this community. Thank you for hearing us, Lord Jesus. Amen.
Sir, and then Ms. Peterson, if you'll lead us in our pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
We appreciate everyone coming out tonight. Glad the weather hasn't gotten bad yet. This is a special meeting to get community input, to share information, and also get some community input about a project that we are working on with the city of Red Oak. And so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Goddard, who will lead us in our information.
That's ready. You do have to turn it on. It's pointed out.
I know I'm loud enough, but I do want to say a couple things. That the presentation tonight is going to be available as soon as the board meeting's over tonight. We'll put that out there on the website and have that available for you, so you don't have to take arduous notes. When I taught, kids loved when I said that. But we're also videotaping it as well. So if you've got some friends who couldn't attend, I can't get it done, sorry. If they couldn't attend, then you can also see the videotape of that part of it. So nobody pick their nose while on the videotape, okay? We don't want you going viral. I'll try not to move around too much, but I want to be able to share with you really an exciting potential partnership that we have with the city of Red Oak, but not only with the city of Red Oak, but all of our Red Oak ISD constituents and community members. I want to do a little bit of a backstory to kind of tell you how we got here, and I think that will help as well kind of to frame really how we got to today. When I arrived really around 18, 19 months ago, we had just had a bond that failed. And when you have a bond that fails, typically when you come as new superintendent, the school board was very supportive and said, let's talk about how that failed and what some things that we've learned from that. A couple pieces that we learned from is we heard loud and clear that we needed to make sure that we were very sensitive to the taxes and that we didn't have any taxes were being raised. And I can tell you even right off the bat that this partnership on the school side has no tax rate increase at all whatsoever. The other piece of it is that I got a lot of feedback about a facility that we had that truly wasn't being used. It had been used a little bit for an emergency purpose during the time when Shields Elementary had a tornado, and we got an emergency certificate to use the facility, but it was only for a temporary basis. There was a lot of issues as far as coding on the side of a school being able to use it and for school kids to be able to use it as a school facility. And so it was only going to be on a temporary basis. So we knew we had a couple of things that we wanted to do. So from that point, we started to do some strategic planning about how can we best use all of our facilities that we currently have, best use the facilities that we need to use collectively as a partnership with our community, and then how do we make sure that we're not increasing tax rates. You'll find out, not only about me, but about our school board. They're great stewards of what you have charged them to do as elected officials, but certainly as well as I represent the district as a whole, that we want to make sure that we're using full utilization of our buildings, our rooms, and everything before we ever go out for something like a bond again. I'm not saying that we won't ever go out for a bond again, but I will tell you, it won't be in the near future. because we want to make sure we're using our utmost facilities in those pieces. So that's kind of the backstory, to be able to share with you some exciting things that are going on with our partnership. I will tell you just from a personal level, when I moved to the community, I was a little bit surprised to see that most of our students that were involved in youth leagues were either involved in our smaller youth leagues here, or they were having to go out to other communities to get involved in youth leagues. It's hard to be able to do that and get some engagement back into the Red Oak community when students are and athletes or even performing arts, those who are in community theater, having to go out and do it in other communities. I'm very thankful for those communities for embracing our students, but one of the other things that I will say, and those of you know me know that I don't hide behind my faith by any way, but certainly been praying about is finding a way to have our community have our own youth leagues and things of that nature, be able to find a senior center, find an expansion of our libraries and those pieces. And that's why I'm very excited to be able to share with you about this potential partnership. So, Beth is up here to make sure I don't talk too fast, but I want to show you a couple things that we have before, so that if you have questions along the way, this is the opportunity. It's called a public hearing, so I want to be able to show you this. I got to be able to facilitate because we've got a lot of people here. There's a couple forms that are out there, and Beth and them, but the team will be able to willing to do it. You know, this is a public hearing really about this partnership itself. And so the yellow form that's out there really has an opportunity. If you had a comment you want to be able to say or be able to share with us or a question, those pieces, feel free to fill that out. You know I'm readily available. You can find me most time. I share with somebody I'm not bashful with selfies. So usually you know where I'm at every moment of the day. But so you can find me if you're not comfortable enough with that. Here's the other piece that I want you to know. We have these available at every board meeting, but I even have tonight in particular. If it's something that's outside of the realm of this subject matter, there's a pink form there. And I promise you, and you can ask those who fill out for, I will get back with you this week about an answer, or I'm looking for the answer on the questions you may have on that. So I want you to have those available because we're in this thing together collectively as a community. Okay? Good? All right. And I'll announce that again at the end so that you have that as well. Okay? You ready? Excited? Okay, good, because I am. So how did we come to this? So let me share with you just a little bit about how we came to this. I gave you some background, but we really came to this proposal here because we knew the city of Red Oak and the community needed a desire for youth recreation facility and needed expanded facilities in their library. If you've ever been over their current facility over in the library in particular, it's about half of the room. There's lots of books and no space. And so I went in there once, knocked over almost 2 shelves and said, I'm going to do books online. So you really need that opportunity of expanded space. And so they were looking for that as well. They also were looking for spots for additional programs for senior services, community services, and those such. So we knew that that was really a desire from the city standpoint. Red Oak ISD, we are doing a lot of future planning. One thing you'll hear me talk about, and really we work through, particularly Kevin Grills and really the school board, we're constantly looking multiple years ahead. You know, we just passed our 5-year strategic plan, looking at Flight Plan 2023. We've been looking at 2023 and our goal setting as we move for that, but really, Kevin and I were working on 2026 just the other day. As we're looking for future planning, look at our numbers all the time, and so what we needed to do is not just look at the current moment needs, but look at our future needs. And one of the things that we needed to do is our future growth land purchases, because it's important to have ideas about where potential schools could go, and our options for our existing facilities, in particular with Live Oak. So both entities identify those assets that could be exchanged, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that piece of it. In order to do that, I can tell you from the get-go, our school board said, we will look at this option that the city has talked to us about, but we absolutely want value to value. And we want to find a way to make sure it's a value to value agreement, partnership. And so what we did is we worked with some independent appraisals to make sure that we weren't being biased towards anything in regards to how things were being valued. And so independent appraisals were done for both those entities and the values and the depreciation that happened. We worked with JL Appraisal out of Dallas to work for the Live Oak land and facilities. The city used Baxter Appraisal Company for their land, and then the JLL facility usage appraisal value was applied to both the city facilities. City facilities. The appraisal values included existing facilities, land and improvements, and the variations, as you know with realty. We've got some realtors in here I can see, but they're based on size, infrastructure, asset access points, as well as comparable rates and locations. So it's, you'll see a couple of those pieces that there's a little bit of variance, but it's because of the location piece of it. Everybody good so far? Okay, good. So we were looking for a mutually beneficial agreement which meets several current and future needs for both entities. The community amenity they gain, a community center and youth recreation facilities, an expanded public library program, activity space for adult and senior services, and additional space for city services. In this meeting in particular, I can't promise anything on the city side because that's really on their decision, but I know that that's what they've shared with us throughout this agreement time. And so I wouldn't be able to speak to specific uses of fields or the buildings, but that's what they've shared with us as their mission. For us, on the ISD side, is really land for future schools, support service facilities, so that we're not necessarily packed on top, and funds to add to our fund balance, purchase additional property and other needs not currently funded. So let's talk a little bit about what our facility is and what we bring to the table and what the city is. So this is the Live Oak property right here. This is Red Oak Road. Most people probably took that today. Everybody knows where you're at. This is the football field that you see when you drive in. This is Acorn. This is a facility that's been used for athletic purposes and workout. And this is Live Oak. And then there's baseball and softball fields back in this area. It's 41.5 acres in addition to these facilities. JLL Appraisal said that a land and improvements, it was $3.9 million as a value. Let me share with you a little bit how that came about. The 41.5 acres of land is really at $640,000. Acorn and the Live Oak facilities and all their improvements came out to the $9 million. Now you've got to go back to what I shared with you at the beginning. In order for us to meet code, in order for us to have students in the building, it was going to cost, and we had two different appraisals happen with us, around $5.8 million for us just to get to code. Now the difference of that is that's just to get to code. That's not necessarily to get to a programming standpoint. It'd be an additional multiple millions just for us to even get to a point where we had things such as a fire loop and sprinkler system, some other things that were going to be required there as well. That 5.8 was just to get us to code. So you deduct that piece. The total value of improvements is 3.2. You add that. The value is 3.846, right around $3.9 million. The city came to us and said, what we can offer is the Hickory Creek property. This is Red Oak Road again, right here. Let me know where they're at. They've got a frontage property here that had public works facilities, properties. They put a brand new shed here, storage shed. They've got a vacant lot right here that's available as well. It's not covered in, but it would allow for some access points potentially. And then they had the 22.32 acres right here that was valued as well. This is a detention pond that the city would maintain, or we could use as a swim facility. No, just so, in my swim team, not going to attack me afterward. But that is going to be maintained by the city. This is a nice property of land. Now, one of the things the city has said, and again, I can't promise anything, but they're working on the extension of Methodist to be able to make that road wider as well. And one of the keys here that we're looking at for us from the district side is it's surrounded by homes. And what that does is it creates a neighborhood school for us potentially. Now, let me share you with this. Even upon the acquisition of this land, it doesn't mean we'll be building tomorrow. We don't have a need for that right now. We don't have a need for another elementary school right now. And we won't build until we have a need for that. We're going to use every available space that we currently have in our elementary schools to make sure the kids have seats. Now, we'll always keep it safe. We'll always make sure that they are right around the ratios that the state recommends. You know, if you've ever been to one of our board meetings, Mr. Fields will come to you. Every once in a while, we got a class size waiver. And we're looking at, we go over a little bit of the 24-to-1, 25-to-1 ratio, or 21 in that ratio. There's no research out there that shows that inhibits their learning, but we want to make sure we're not having our teachers go too crazy with too many kids in the classroom. So we want to be cognizant of that as well. Well, we've got some elementary campuses right now particularly that aren't full to capacity. Some of them are, but we have some that are not. For example, Shelton Elementary is right now around I'm a nerd around numbers, so you're going to find out 393 students. The capacity is right around 800. So there may be potential rezoning. I know I said that word. Years down the road, that we would look at before we would start building facilities. But I did want to point that out, that that is a potential opportunity for us as we grow as a community, and if you didn't know, we're growing. As we grow as a community, to be able to secure land to do that. So what that means, the city of Red Oak will be bringing the 22.82 acres of land at $513,000. They have the public works, facilities, improvements, equipment shed. They have the vacant lot, 25, and then they would be bringing to us $1 million cash in addition to that. So that's at 2.547. So it means that they still had some value to make up. So one of the things that they did is they proposed for us is to give us $800,000 cash in addition to that. We have an option with that because they've been working with a developer, and I'm not trying to be elusive, but with the developer I can't name right now because it wouldn't be fair to them, because until we come up with the agreement, I really can't name them and commit them to that. So, not trying to be elusive, I just can't tell you who it is until we start that agreement. But I will tell you some things about it, and it's a potentially a great site. So the school board will be deciding if we just take that cash, or if we use this for a property that's been identified on the west side of I-35. It's up to 24 acres, and whether we can use all of that or not is the decision of the board, or we choose to purchase all of that. They've worked with the developer on that price for all 24, but they've also worked with the developer that we would have an added value of infrastructure added to that piece. So the infrastructure things are such as streets, upgrades, utility tie-ins. And what we're finding out is we're starting to go out and look for multiple pieces of land or just options moving forward is we have lots of land, particularly on the west side, but there's not much infrastructure. And one of the things that happens is infrastructure costs a lot of money. And so we're trying to be very cognizant. For example, we found a piece of land that looked very good. It was at a great price. Someone bought it way back in the 80s when the semiconductor time was around. They thought it would be a great investment. They have not been able to get rid of it since. And the reason being is because the infrastructure costs were in the multiple millions in order to be able to use it and get to it and access it. So we're running into that. So when we saw this part of the agreement, it was very attractive to us as well as we start looking and evaluate if we choose that, is that that infrastructure value would be added to that value piece for us because the developer was going to be putting that in. I can tell you this, the district will still have an option to purchase that property or keep the cash. The location, like I said, has been determined. But until the agreement's confirmed, we can't identify the location or development. Like I said, it's on the west side of 35, and what I can tell you as well is it's located in a high-density development area, and it would serve as a neighborhood school. So let me identify just a little bit what it means when I say neighborhood school. Walking distance to homes. And that's a big value, not just because they're not going to ride the buses, but because it's so accessible as well. And so that's important for us to be able to do that. It's got sidewalks and those pieces that kids can walk to school. Uphill both ways in the snow like we all did, right? No shoes. So they bring that value of 1.65 to that table as well. So here's what it looks like. So we end up with the land improvements at 3.9. City of Red Oak would bring land improvements at 1.5, $1 million cash, the cash option of $800,000, which we would take the cash option up front and then decide if we're going to use that land or not. If we choose to use that land, that would be the additional $850 with the infrastructure value to bring it around 4.1. Now, what's the variance between these two? This number is a little bit of a variable that we're estimating on the high end, so that's why there's a bit of a difference. We don't exactly get dollar to dollar, but we wanted to estimate that's the piece of it on the value side of it. So ultimately, we end up getting a value-to-value partnership. There's some benefits to Red Oak ISD in the community, obviously, in particular the Red Oak ISD side of it. We get land sites as elementary school sites and other purposes. These sites are located within planned developments going on right now with high population density and multiple access points and good walkability, which is good. We get additional facilities, which would help with our maintenance equipment, our landscaping equipment, custodial storage and those pieces. A possible reorganization and relocation of apartments up here, because we're pretty packed in over here, particularly our food service, different things over here, to free up some space. It would add to our fund balance, which I am proud to say that our school board has encouraged us and really held us to be able to build our fund balance up as the state recommends. This last fiscal year, we were able to add $2.1 million to our fund balance. We're at 25% of our total operating expenses, which is what the state recommends. So I'm very thankful for that and really the responsibility of our campus leaders to help us get there and our directors. So So adding that fund balance is important for us, because if we ever get hit, for example, on a time, again, pray that we don't ever, but if you ever get hit to an emergency situation, you're able to access those funds as well. But it also builds capacity in how much, if you ever go out for a bond at some point in time, that you have that as well. Purchase additional property or other needs not currently funded. Reduced impact to our operating expenditures. So let me share what that means. For right now, we're, even the Live Oak facility, we're expending money right now to maintain that facility, right? And so that money would no longer obviously be on our side of it. For example, utilities, custodial maintenance. Rehabilitation of existing facilities and existing facilities for district use. So the nice part about that is the cities also talk to us. For example, we do some large-scale professional development. They'd still work with us to be able to hold some of those in the Live Oak facility, because they still want this to be a community center as well and connected with the partnership. There's some benefits to the city and the community side as well. And again, I don't want to speak totally from, but these are directly from them about some of the parts that they're looking at as benefits. It obviously has a positive impact immediately on our youth recreation and sports, and a multitude of sports. Increase our opportunities for our public library system and the programs. Instantly, they have a lot of opportunity in space. If you ever met Logan over there, he's a fireball, and we'll definitely get after it with our city library facilities. But he's limited in space and what he can do in those facilities. And so he'll have lots of space to be able to do that, and kids go all throughout the summer. And this is why it's so important for us. Let me just give you a little commentary piece of it, because it's so important for us to find a way to make sure our students are engaged during the off times. So, for example, I've got 2 weeks of Christmas coming up, right? It's going to be a very powerful opportunity for our kids to be able to still access a library and books and those pieces. Remember, our folks are off. It's going to be powerful for them to access youth leagues or programs or things that they're going to be putting on, for example, at the community center during that time, during the summer and those other times. Because right now, you can come play basketball with me during the summer at the slab over here at the park, and it's packed and there's not enough space. That's about all we've got right now that's going on. So this is why it's so important for us. Activity space for our senior programs and the expansion of that, and a community performing arts facility. So I have found out that we're very dramatic in Red Oak, so this will be a very strong positive for our community. That was a chill. That was really good. That did not work. Okay. Some of you are ready to be lead actors, right? Rehabilitation of existing facilities, which means it reduces expenses and exhibits fiscal responsibility of public funds. And so what that means is in the absence of that, the city would have to be building those facilities. And so now they're taking the existing facility and using the funds to do that and enhance that and capitalize on the existing infrastructure. There's an immediate economic development impact with our community offerings, infrastructure, and beautification. I can speak firsthand to that piece because I have a lot of young families that want to move into Red Oak. And they are excited about the schools, and then they ask me about what kind of programs does the city offer. And right now, at this point, I'm not able to say a whole lot. But what this partnership does is it allows us an opportunity to share those kind of things that are going to be offered from our city. The city development, it helps accommodate program and space needs for our city departments as well, because they're packed out over there as well. So for us, we see that the city of Red Oak and the Red Oak ISD community partnership is a win-win. A value-to-value partnership agreement to benefit the entire city of Red Oak ISD, and all the communities served. So this is an important piece. One of the things we asked the city, and our President Hawkins talked to even directly to the mayor and said, will this benefit all of our Red Oak ISD constituents? And they said assuredly yes. And so what is exciting about that is we've shared with the city of Oakleaf, Pecan, Glen Heights, all of those that we serve as well, is that this will also help to serve them as well in our youth leagues and other pieces. Responsible utilization of existing facilities and infrastructure reduces duplicating efforts and costs so that we're not have to operate separate. Positive effects on the quality of life of the community, and partnership facilitates efficiency, awareness, and opportunities for the entire community collectively as a whole. So the next step is the city to consider approval of the letter of intent. They did that Monday. We wanted to hold a public hearing today, and we truly want to be able to hear your feedback, whether you do it tonight or do it through an email, those pieces. We want to gather your input. This board they represent collectively, and they've said this to me, so I don't want to speak to them, but they said they represent collectively the community, and they wanted to hear your input. And so the ISD will consider approval of a letter of intent on our agenda item on Monday. We have a board meeting on Monday. And then the letter of intent does not commit us to an agreement yet. It's just the letter of intent is truly what that is. It says, I want to get married to you, but I want to do counseling first, right? It says that we want to go through this process and be able to make sure, look and see if we can come to this agreement and make sure that the agreement works still solidly as a value to value for all of us. And then we would be looking in the next couple months to sign an agreement around that if we were able to get to that point. But the letter of intent really just enters us into a point where we'd be talking about an agreement piece. All right. So, take a moment. Here's what I'd like you to do. If you have some comments or questions, we certainly want to do it in the best way, but I have the yellow sheet here that if you'd like to make a comment, I am also, I'm kind of going to take a little risk here, okay? But I'm open for some questions if it's related to that. I will do my best to answer them if you want as well. If you have general questions that don't relate, I'm not being rude, but I don't want, we got weather coming, and I don't want to be here forever for y'all, and I can walk home, so I'm okay. But if you have a question, I promise I'll get back to you this week. Even if I don't have the answer, I'll tell you I'm working on it. So if you have those, please fill it out. And just know you can email me at any time. I'll give you my cell phone if you want. Just let me know what kind of questions you have with that. So, President Hawkins, if that's all right, if I have time to give them that, or would you let me open up for questions? So would like to...
Let me just reinforce what you're saying is that the board, we have had a concern about facilities for our children for years. I see many faces out here of folks that are here that their kids are grown. We had these conversations years ago. I've got my youngest son is 25, my daughter's 27, my oldest son is 30. They were born and raised here. All of their youth activities formed in Waxahachie, Texas. They played baseball in Waxahachie. They played basketball in Waxahachie. We like Waxahachie. We spent a lot of time in Waxahachie. But the kiddos of Red Oak, North Ellis County, should not have to go to another town to have fun. And so we have been concerned about this for years. Again, we like Dr. Goddard said, we're thrilled that our neighbors were nice enough to let us come down there. But again, it always hurt our heart that our kids had to go somewhere else to play. And so we've talked about this for years. It never seemed to, pieces never seemed to fit. But it was always on our mind that we would love for our kiddos to be able to be proud to play whatever activities they wanted, whether it be football, basketball, soccer, whatever it was, to have theater programs. I know that Ennis, Waxahachie, Midlothian have thriving theater programs because they have space to do those things. Currently, we don't have a public, a city facility for those activities. Our senior citizens currently meet in the Lions Club building on Red Oak Road. There's nothing wrong with that facility, but as we all know, that population is growing as we all inch towards it. And they are wanting more and more activities. They would like, they keep asking us about exercise equipment. They want us to put exercise equipment in the Lions Club building. And it's just not possible. They'd like to take classes, exercise classes, craft classes, things like that. And we can't do that. If you've seen the Lions Club building, it's just one big room. So there's no way to accommodate our senior citizens. Again, you go to Waxahachie, they've got a wonderful senior citizens living community, senior citizen center. Again, I hate for us to say, well, we've got some senior citizens activities, you just need to drive 12 miles down the road. I hate to tell our citizens that you need to go somewhere else to have a quality of life, and that's what this is about, is to provide a quality of life for all people that live in North Ellis County. Again, we serve the city of Red Oak, Oak Leaf, Glen Heights, Pecan Hill, part of Waxahachie, and we want to serve all of those students, all of those senior citizens, all of those community members, and this gives us an opportunity to do that. But tonight we are here. We don't want to do anything. Again, our charge is to represent the folks that live, their kids go to, and the folks that pay taxes to Red Oak ISD. That is our number one charge. So we represent you, and so I know that board members have been talking to individuals in the community, but wanted to give people an opportunity to come and let us know your thoughts. So we really want to hear from you. Dr. Goddard put up a tentative, the next steps. This in no way is a done deal. I know sometimes people say, oh, it's just a done deal, you're going through the steps. This in no way is a done deal. We represent the community. We want to do what is best for the community, but we want the community to support it. So we want to know your thoughts. So please, again, whether you want to write it down there, we want to hear it. I mean, so we would prefer to talk to you, whether it be one-on-one or come up to the mic or whatever. We want to know how you feel about this project. Again, and it's very tentative. It's not a done deal at all. The details have not been worked out. But we truly, before we vote on this, need to hear from you, and that's what we're here for.
So let's do this. If you want a yellow piece of paper, we'll take this to 2-second deal. We'll vote them and pass them out. But if you also just wanted to let us hear whether you feel like that's a good deal, if you feel like there's some questions you may have, I really truly want to be able to facilitate to the board to get your feedback. And I think President Hoffman said it well. We don't want to do something that's not going to be representative of what the community has. So honestly, this was the board's idea to be able to provide an opportunity for public hearing and feedback related to this. Like I said before, I think as we start looking at it, obviously I'm going to put the positive spin towards it. There's going to be some challenges as we go forward with it. Again, no taxes increase for that part of it. We're working as trying to find a win-win, create something that only, some people would say the school district just only serves the students. Well, that'd be really naive to say that, to be honest. We serve a multitude of stakeholders. School districts that serve only the students miss the mark about what it's really about. And so we're committed to do that, to serve our collective group of all those that we serve, including you. So we certainly, I taught freshmen, so I can tell you I don't mind calling people out and go, what do you think? So I want to give you an opportunity as well to be able to do that because I want to be able to facilitate some feedback from you all as well. So anybody want a yellow sheet, or you would like to just go from row to row and figure out if you feel good about it or not? How's that? Yeah.
And we do have one, so I mean, if we need to have somebody lead out, we do have one filled out.
Okay. If not, the wind's blowing. Everybody's got their winter coat for tomorrow, boys, you ready? Inside recess. Good time. Don't forget also, if you have other questions related, I flippantly, don't say that flippantly. If you have other questions, I think she's available. I'll be around as well afterwards. Our school board members are very accessible as well. And you can find Dr. Shaw and I at Walmart Shopping Lake, right? So you'll find us as well. But let me set this up. We'll go ahead and give you a chance to fill out the yellow sheets. President Hawkins, I guess we can start with the first one and then we can go from there.
We do have John, who lives at 410 Butterfly Lane, and I won't say your last name because I don't want to butcher it.
Why not? Everybody else does.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Like he says, I'm John Sarabaka. I live at 410 Butterfly Lane. About 3 or 4 months ago, I went to a city council meeting, basically the same thing, public hearing. They were crying they needed all this money. Well, a lot of us said, no, we're senior citizens, we're on a fixed income, we can't afford it. Number one, Red Oak is a bedroom community. There is not much industry that I know a Triumph. That's about it. I know the schools need money. But Red Oak says, well, we'll get this money, we'll get some to the school, that way the school won't be shut out. Which is fine. But they should have told us that to begin with. Back in October, I took a vacation. Spent a few days in the hospital. Come home. Torn tornadoes went through Waxahachie. I get to my house. Luckily, I left the sewer drain open. Or my house would have been flooded from the years-old infrastructure that the city doesn't want to fix. It was plugged up for 5 days and ran in my yard. I finally called the city and had them come out there and check it. Well, they did. Did they come knock on the door? No. They got their truck left. I went out there, well, the sewer's not. Draining my house. Did they call me back and say everything's fixed? No. You talk about infrastructure on the west side of the town. They need to work on some of the old stuff. Bring some of that up to the code. They got 511 houses going on 342 on Oakville Road. They gotta have infrastructure there. So what happens? The old part of town, guess what? Hey, you don't get nothing. Schools, I drive around and I see all these ball fields are empty lots. When I was a kid, we played empty lots. We made a ball field. You go around, there's nobody at the ball field that are already made. So, thank you for letting me vent my frustrations.
Thank you, appreciate it. We have other sheets. Anybody else want to speak? If you don't want to fill out a sheet, just come to the mic. Julia Easley. I'll pull it down. Just take it out.
Just take it out.
All right.
Yes. There you go.
I thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate you having the public hearing and the information that you've shared. And I've been living in this area about 8 years, and I've been really surprised to see that, especially like for the senior citizens, virtually, I'm just going to say like it's almost nothing. And the library being so incredibly small and, needing so many more resources and the need for sports activities for kids. So I just thank you, and I just want to say I support these, and I appreciate you all moving forward.
Appreciate it. Stephen Samuels. Come on in.
My name is Stephen Samuels. I live at 100 Hidden Lane. I kind of agree with you, President Hawkins, about how your kids play more expansion. Well, I'm president of the baseball organization here in Atlanta. I've been for 7 years. I have seen everything. They get to a certain age, then they go to Waxahachie, or they go to Midlothian, or they go to Cedarville. All these other organizations, all these other cities that have these organizations that have these complexes that can support more kids and everything that has to do with Eden Ferris, with their complex that is much better than what we have here in Red Oak. We're just 12 board members that try to take care of it on a daily basis. That's all we are. So I just want you to know that I appreciate the work that y'all have done, and I support, and my whole board and organization supports this going forward.
Appreciate that. Brian Sebring.
Thank you. My name is Brian Sebring. I live at 301 Valerie Drive. Like Steve, I got 3 kiddos. My youngest is 9. We've been involved in youth athletics here since my oldest was 4. So I'm currently the president of Red Oak Community Football. This is something that currently tonight, my 11-year-old is practicing basketball in Ferris because that program was shut down 2 years ago. The baseball fields here are in bad shape. The football fields here are in need a lot of love. I've been over that for the last 3 years, and we do what we can with what we got. And like Steve, they do the same thing. The funds are obviously limited in what we have from registrations and sponsorships that we get from Fabric. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Thank you guys so much for not looking for just at what's good for ISD, but looking for what's good for the community. There are a lot of things that we need to that don't involve sports that go as far as summer programs that right now the city just can't facilitate with what they have there. And to kind of speak, I think that a gentleman brought it up at the city council meeting about not knowing where all these kids are practicing. The last city council meeting, kids were actually practicing directly behind City Hall. Kids practice on a practice field that is sloped like this easel, or like this pulpit down here at Red Oak Park, at Watkins Park. We have found, in my years, we have practiced on abandoned tennis courts because it was too muddy, or they were overgrown, or they didn't have lights. So this is something that's really needed, and we just want Red Oak Community Football to support you, and we think for the positive step in the right direction that we feel is needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Hickey.
Hi guys, I wasn't going to speak because I think everybody typically knows where I stand on stuff like this, but it's a public hearing. I will say that I think the school district is absolutely getting the better end of the deal here. You're right, that building needs to be offloaded. The school district is just not in the business of maintaining real estate. The biggest problem that I see with this is the city's stance. I know that's not a school board issue, but it's y'all's deal. And for the record, for anybody that's watching this stuff for the first time, the city of Red Oak had an election back in May 2017 where the community turned out in double-digit voter turnout to say, no, we don't want to pay more money so that kids don't have to drive 12 miles down the road to play ball. Red Oak ISD has a 44% economic disadvantage rate in your kids. You have families in here that can barely afford to put food on the table, much less pay for kids to drive 2 miles instead of 12 to play ball. So whatever you do in the future, saying that it hurts your heart that kids have to drive 12 miles while you've got a city that's turning around taking food from the mouths of kids and families that are struggling, not with muddy fields, but paying bills every month. I'm going to suggest that you find a much better argument to use because that's a slap in the face to a lot of the city residents. I don't live in the city. My kids do. I have a lot of friends that do. I've probably block walked a lot of buildings and homes and families here. This deal may be good for the school. It's bad for the city. Not only are we watching them jack up taxes to within 0.000001 cent of requiring an election, they're doing that to intentionally circumvent the will of a recent election, several elections in fact. Somebody needs to get this city reined in. I don't know what you guys can do about that, but I would encourage you to use whatever resources and influence you have to get the taxes back down in the city. Because it's not starting off on a good foundation. And when you have a house built on sand instead of rock, it's not going to last long. That's it.
Michael Cruz.
Good evening, everybody. Mike Cruz. I am a resident of Oak Villa at 619 Cardinal. I have the big black pots in my front yard if you want to come say hello. I'm also the treasurer of the Red Oak Soccer Association. Also the father of 2 boys. My son Adai just turned 10 this past weekend, and he is a participant and one of the kids of Red Oak Soccer. He attends Shields and was a benefactor of us being able to use that emergency use of Live Oak. So he was there during when that happened. So we lived here about 6 or 7 years now. And you know, the first few years we didn't really get involved in the community. We just moved here, moved in, you know, got the kids in school. Unpacked, and kind of that was it. You know, we thought it was a good idea to get our kids involved in something local, and so we thought soccer would be a great way to start with putting our kids in something active. You know, signed them up, got a call while we were on vacation in New Mexico. Hey, would you like to be the coach? Like, no, but you know what? No one else would, so I said yes, I would. I knew nothing about soccer. But you know what I said? Hey, there's other kids who want to play soccer. I'm going to learn as much as I can, and we're going to play soccer. First thing that came up was, where do we practice? Well, we don't really have fields to practice on. Okay, so you know, I started calling around, and there was a church down the street from me, and you know, luckily they said, hey, we're just a local soccer team. We want to practice. And we see that you have a patch of grass, and we'd love to practice there. Pastor said, okay. So, fantastic. Just kindness for him to allow us to practice on there at the church. But now, that was 2.5 years ago, still coaching, in love with soccer, love the kids. The team's grown from 9 kids now to a full team of 16 kids. A rowdy bunch, but seriously, we feel, my wife and I feel very connected because we have made friends with the parents of the teammates of the soccer team. We've had birthday parties where the majority of the kids that were there were either part of the soccer team or part of the Boy Scout troop. We're also in the Cub Scouts in Oak Villa, and so. You know, they're either soccer or scouts. So it's important, you know, it's easy to say and minimize the importance of having youth athletics when you compare that to people going hungry. No doubt in my mind where the importance is there. But I can tell you though, that where you invest money right now, it's a worthwhile investment to invest in youth. That doesn't mean anything that even though you compare that A to B, but B is still important to invest in. Because, you know, my son's shy, without the soccer team, you know, I'm not sure how many friends he'd have. You know, he's building lifelong connections. We're building connections here in part of the community. We don't want to move. I have a job where we can move across the country if we wanted to, but I want to stay in Red Oak because of the friends and the connections we made here in Red Oak. So, absolutely great idea to swap the land, a way to find, you know, a good compromise with that. I am excited to see what the final plan would be in terms of the complex for the senior citizens, the fine arts, the sports fields. I think that would draw a lot more momentum and be really exciting to see. Like, hey, we have this to look forward to and a timeline of when we can expect to see that. So please press on.
Josh, is it Roman? Bowman?
So, Josh Roman, hard to follow, Mike, but just wanted to say I am the president of Red Oak Soccer, and I have 3 kids. Every single school, basically. I mean, they've been in Red Oak Elementary, Red Oak Middle. I have one in Red Oak Elementary, one in Red Oak Middle now, and one in Red Oak High School. So I have them all across the board. My daughter just turned 14, so she's a freshman in high school, and she's playing on the JV team. Practicing with the varsity. Just to give you a little bit of history, I mean, we lived here for 10 years now. Moved from Wisconsin, going on 11. Came here because my parents bought a house here. I had no idea where Red Oak, Texas was. None. I said, what are you doing? And moved here, and I've loved the town ever since. I'll be honest with you. We fell in love with the town, we fell in love with the people, and got involved. Never played a day of soccer in my life. I was a YouTube coach. Not gonna lie. I've coached for 10 years now. And my daughter, the funny thing is, the varsity and the JV team, out of 26 players that are on the JV team, I've coached 13 of those girls, and I'm so proud of every single one of them. Anyways, long story short, what you guys are doing, actually doing instead of talking since we've been here, moving forward, I commend you. Dr. Goddard and the board, I commend you guys 100%. We support you as Red Oak Soccer, and we thank you for doing what you're doing. And if there's ever anything we can do for you, we're here. So I appreciate it.
Is there anyone else? You don't even have to fill out a form. Just come to the. Calm down. Oh, let me add that this is not just a feel-good move. Again, I think it is a feel-good. It is a feel-good move in that you want your kids to be proud of where they're from, and that includes those memories of sports and theater and all those things that you do as a child, and where you grow up is kind of where your heart stays. And again, I don't want our kiddos. They're growing up, their memories are in Waxahachie or Midlothian or Ferris or Palmer or some other town. Not only is this just a feel good for our kiddos, a pride thing, it's an economic issue. And sometimes we're as a board are careful to talk about economics because then people are all about the money, all about the money. Well, I tell you, everybody on this board is about the kiddos, but we also have to be aware of the economics. And the economics, the truth is that without young families in a town, and the city of Red Oak, we're a small town. The ISD is about 44 square miles. Do we know what's the square? 13 square miles of the city of Red Oak. So we're both ISD and citywide. We're tiny compared to Waxahachie and Midlothian and Ennis and even Palmer and Ferris and those places. And so economically, if we don't have young, it's kind of like a church. You get sometimes that brings some conflict when you've got the young folks and the older folks in a church, and the older folks are kind of complaining about the younger folks and vice versa. But you need both, and you need both in the city. Without young folks coming to the city, you don't have growth, and I don't mean exponential growth, but just natural growth. If young people aren't coming in, as people are dying off, you wind up being I have no problem with renters. I mean, again, towns are made up of renters, buyers, all of those things. But if you do not have young families moving into a town, it's kind of a circling of the drain. Eventually the town dies if you don't have young families coming into a town. And there's lots of competition for young families. In Ellis County, again, you can go to Waxahachie, you can go to Midlothian, you can go to Ennis, you can go to Ferris Palmer. And if you go to the town, a young family's looking for a home to purchase, and they come to this wonderful looking little town, and they like it, and they find a house, and they say, okay, where are my kiddos going to do all these activities? Well, you're going to have to go to another town. Well, let's go look at another town. And suddenly you go to Waxahachie or Midlothian, and again, because of their size, all the restaurants and all those kinds of things, it's, well, if I can, if I'm gonna go out to eat at these other places and my kids are gonna have to go to these other places, why don't we just move to another town as opposed to living in Red Oak and having to go somewhere else for all of our youth activities. Parents, those of you that drive your kids around, you already know that you're out constantly on the road all the time anyway. So when you add distance to that, because you can't take your kids down the road, just a few miles down the road for their activities, it just adds stress to your life. So it's a quality of life issue, and if you don't have quality of life, again, young families will not come here. Young families don't come here, the town dies. It's just economic. So we also have to look at the numbers. So it's good for the community. It's good for North Ellis County. Just wanted to add, it's not just a feel-good deal that we're looking at. It's economic as well to keep the city vibrant. We got anybody else? Do we have any board members that want to? Dr. Shaw would want to say something.
When I see what the city and school district is trying to accomplish, it actually makes me very proud. I'm very invested in this school district and this community. I don't live in the city of Red Oak. I live 2 miles out of town. But I've lived here all my life. All 80 years I've lived here. My children all went to school here. I went to school here. And I see what's happening all around in our area and our community, and the housing developments, and the school district is growing, and the city is growing. And we need to catch up. We need to do for our youth what we should have been doing for a long time. And so we need to play catch up. And this particular partnership with the city and the district is not just a win-win. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win. Because it provides for our children something that we have not been providing for. And I know that people live in our school district and in the city and in our communities and surrounding communities that are low socioeconomic and absolutely have needs. And I think that the better plans that we have for our youth will also make us better people to plan for everybody else who lives here and to plan programs to help those people. Because if we help their children, we help them. And we have to start somewhere. And the school district in the city wants to start with this partnership. And I can't see it going anywhere but up. And it makes me very proud of the city because they have seen the need and have stepped up. And of the school district who has said, yes, this is a need and we want to work with you and we want to make this work. We had many meetings with the city, and we talked and talked and talked. We got to talk this to death. But the fact remains that everybody wanted to make it work and was willing to do whatever it took to make it work because it was the best thing for the youth of this area. I'm very proud of everybody that was involved.
If anyone else would like to speak? What I will want to encourage you to do, again, this is in no way a done deal. This is kind of that period of time that we wanted to present the basics to the community. I think Dr. Goddard will take every opportunity that he can to share information with the community in the different ways that we have available to us. But this is the time that as you're driving home tonight or you're lying in bed and something comes, a question pops up and you think, you know, I've got a good question or even an idea of, hey, well, why aren't y'all thinking about this? I'm going to ask you to please contact the board member, contact Dr. Goddard, contact somebody in the district, and ask that question or share that idea. We kind of get one shot at this. If we're not able to make this work, I don't know that it'll ever come up again. So please, we want your input. This is not a one-time deal. Like I said, you're driving to work and something pops in your head, a question, an idea. We're asking for your input, please. Anyone else? No, not you, Jared.
That's right. No, my name's Jared Douglas. As a pastor in this community and as a parent in the district, I just want to say thank you for y'all's willingness to think outside the box and to do what's best for the community and for the school. It's a big thing. I know being here over 20 years now and seeing the growth of our area and Triumph and everything that's coming in, just a lot of great opportunities. So on behalf of our church, as a parent, thank you for your willingness to do what you're doing, to be diligent. I know you did a lot of research, a lot of things behind the scenes that we haven't seen. And it's easy to throw rocks and throw stones at things, but knowing that you guys are the ones who've been in the trenches. So thank you for what you're doing. And we're praying for you, and we support you in your efforts and what you're doing. So thank you.
Anyone else? Like I said, the Lions Club, the senior citizens, again, meet in the Lions Club building, which is there on Red Oak Road, almost the corner of Methodist, right on the corner. That building was actually built through a community effort by the Lions Club and just citizens. I mean, Dr. Shaw, you went through that process. There was no city, I don't believe there was any city involvement in that. That was just going out and going to business and saying, hey, we have no place for our senior citizens to do anything. So they just went out, collected as much money as they could. I think, I don't know that they even used contractors. I think just individuals built that building. And again,
Donated time, donated supplies, lumber, and labor, and everything to build it. And it was like solicited donations, $250. I remember they asked people to get $250, and so the senior citizens could have a place to be. We all had parents, so, it doesn't take much for somebody to come and say, your parents need a place to meet and have activities, so I gave you my $250, and so did everybody else, Mom and Dad needed this.
and again, that was about 30 years ago.
Oh, at least.
Times were different then. Again, Joe Bob, Buck and a truck could build a building, and of course things have changed with city ordinances, and I'm hesitant to say that don't look too closely at that Lions Club building. Fire marshal might shut us down. But those are the things that this community has done in the past. This is an opportunity for us again to come together, the city, the school district, to do what again is what's best for especially the children, the kiddos, but the senior citizens. Again, the possibilities are endless of what again classes. Again, Waxahachie, they've got all kind of community classes that they have because they have facilities to do that. Again, those are things that we should be able to offer here. And with this agreement, I think we'd be well on our way to being able to do that. Anyone else? Any other board members? Anything?
Doctor,
I'd like to just thank everybody for coming tonight and giving us the input. It is important to us to hear what everybody thinks. I will say that it's exciting for me personally to see a city entity and the school district entity working together towards a shared vision. We've never had that before. And if we can't establish a shared vision, and we can't get along, what examples are we to our kids? What examples are we to each other? And where are we really going? Who knows? And so one thing that I see is I see us really coming together and working towards a shared vision for the betterment of the community. And I also see two governmental entities trying to be responsible and trying to be frugal with our tax dollars on both sides. And we're trying to get the greatest and best product that we can for the betterment of everybody in the community, and not just in the city, but across all of the people that we serve and in our school district. A lot of kids throughout northern Ellis County are going to reap the benefits. Our senior citizens are going to be able to see positive benefits. And that's, our city service is going to see the positive benefits. You've seen the list. We've all seen it's a win-win-win-win, as Dr. Shaw said. And I'm excited to see where this community's going. Growth's happening. It's up to us to try to control it and try to protect the quality of it. And that's why we're working together to have a shared vision, and we're trying to share resources so we can protect the community and protect the quality of the development and the growth. And once again, for me, thank you very much for coming tonight. I know it's here today, bad weather coming in. It's a Thursday evening. Everybody's working, tired, and you still showed up to provide input. And I just thank you for that. Made note that John Anderson, board member, is in Utah on business. And most of you know John. He has been here all his life, has kiddos in the district, is around town a great deal. I can tell you that he would voice the same enthusiasm about this project, and again would also love to hear from you. So if you see John Anderson in town, grab his ear and let him know what you think. But please, we want your input, whether you want to email, you want to call a board member, whatever you want to do. We truly, truly want your input before we have to make a decision on this.
Just one more thing, Joey.
Yes, sir.
I've been in the community 49 years. I've watched Red Oak grow, and we're going to continue to grow. You look at the growth we have now. I moved here, there was 500-some people. Actually, Dr. Shaw was one of my principals. So I've seen the growth, and I know how the city is growing, and it's going to continue to grow. The draw is going to be this joint venture. I really feel positive about it. You look at soccer. Soccer is a big deal. You look at baseball. You look at football. All these youth sports. But also, what it's going to be able to do for seniors. It's a positive. I think it's going to be a wonderful thing. And I too also thank you for coming out, showing up, and voicing your opinions. We appreciate it. We truly do. Thank you.
Last call for tonight.
Again, just thank you for the opportunity to present to you this partnership and the opportunity. I will tell you that being in a place where fast growth was happening, you truly can't control it, but you can manage it. And what you do is you try to find opportunities like this as a tipping point for a community, and you stand strong for the values of your community, or otherwise the values of your community will be created without us standing for anything. So as the board evaluates that. We want to present them an opportunity to evaluate a program just like this, a partnership just like this, that stands strong for the community and what we stand for, collectively, not only within the churches, but those community members and the residents of this community. And so it means a lot that y'all turned out. It means a whole lot, because it means that you're standing up tall for our community. Even as you voice concerns, please know that that's important to us. We value every single child. Our mission is reaching our individual students' dreams, and that means that we look at each child individually, wherever they're coming from, wherever their needs are, and so we want to make decisions that are best for each individual child and looking at them collectively. So I want to thank the school board for considering this, and really know that you're being thought of as we evaluate this over the time between here and Monday, and so I know they truly want to value your opinion and hear back from you. I'll stay around. If you've got questions individually about that part of it, or anything else, I'm always want to be available for you as well.
Okay. All right. Again, we appreciate you coming out. If there's nothing else, the time is 8:14 and this meeting is adjourned.